Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast with your host, Justin Tamzett. With over 30 years in the fitness industry, JT is a globally recognized authority with a mission to lower healthcare costs worldwide by getting more people moving and moving more often in quality facilities with qualified professionals. Every episode, JT digs deep with our guests to bring you insights that will help you lead, innovate, and boost your bottom line. So let's dive in. Take it away, JT.
Our listeners are the best. You are the best because you tell us who you love and who you don't. And Ingrid Knight-Cohee, a guest in show 297, received huge number of downloads. In fact, her show is still being downloaded and special requests to get her back. So we listened and she is back today to discuss what's new in group fitness. Now, if you're a business owner, you want to listen to this show as we specifically talk about making group fitness an income line on your P&L rather than an expense line. And don't forget, you must forward this episode to your group fitness managers. So let's rip in. We have a real group fitness flavor today with our Rexer in the trenches, Jalynn Brown from HealthWorks in the Boston area in the US. Today, she's going to talk about 3 key ways to build relationships with your instructors. After my chat with Ingrid, we've got a cracking supplier's pitch from Ken Reinig, the insurance guy. Now, I'm not going to tell you how long Ken has been doing this gig, but I will tell you this. When all you do is insurance, you get very bloody good at it. So I guarantee if you listen just an extra 3 minutes after Ingrid's interview, you might just save a bundle of money, reduce your stress, and protect your ass. Oh, and my merch sponsor this episode is Pursuit Performance in Windsor, Colorado. This is not only an amazing facility, Zach has incredible staff and they get incredible results for their members. I'll put a link in the show notes to check out his facility and his socials. So thanks, Zach, for the merch. Now I can be your next social influencer. I'll wear your swag or your merch in any of my interviews. Just go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/merch and apply now.
At Rex Roundtables, we're proud to have over 350 exceptional leaders and business professionals as members from all over the world. From owners to CEOs to general managers and department heads, each one will bring a wealth of experience and insight to their Rex Roundtable. For this episode, we've handpicked one of our members to share a 3-minute golden nugget, which is a proven strategy that's driving success in their business. This is real-world advice from someone in the trenches, just like you. If you're interested in learning more about Rex Roundtables and how it can benefit your business and leadership, reach out to me, Eddie at rexroundtables.com, or find my contact details at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
My name is Jalynn. I am the Group Fitness HWX Director for HealthWorks Group located in the Boston region. For all my contact details, you can go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. I'm going to take a moment to talk to you about 3 key ways to create relationships with your instructor team. Number 1, let's start taking their classes. When coaching a team of instructors, how can we provide them feedback and resources to develop their skills if we're never in the studio with them experiencing their product? We want to build their trust, show them their value to us, and consume their product authentically. Number 2, we want to ask them for their feedback. As a leadership team, we tend to work on projects that are not going to really come to fruition for another 3 months, 6 months, a year, working on those visions, reminding ourselves that our team's reality is also our reality as well as our organization's. If your team is expected to deliver, they will value that knowing that their feedback is being heard and being considered in these decisions. Their perspective is crucial when implementing changes, whether that be in programming, studio aesthetics, operational procedures, instructor policies, member policies, whatever it might be. Lastly, we want to provide a strong and positive employee experience. Think of the journey map of your instructors from arriving into when they leave the club. How do they arrive to your facility? When they arrive, is there easy access to a barcode for club entry? Do other staff members know their name? Do they know other staff members' names? They head into the studio. Is the equipment where it needs to be? Is your audio and visual and tech working? Are they set up for success? Is there anything in their experience that is going to impact what they need to do as an instructor? Thinking this way will impact employee experience and can aid as a retention tool, which will ultimately help leaders have an easier job moving forward, right? From here, I want to challenge you to take some classes and start inviting your team to provide feedback on something exciting you are working on. I love being a part of the Rex team because I love being able to have the opportunity to learn from other leaders in the fitness industry. If you'd like to contact Eddie or myself, our contact details will be in the episode notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com.
Thanks, Jalynn. 3 awesome tips there for us to lead our group fitness team. All right, today I am with fitness industry royalty. I'm joined by the winner of the 2024 IDEA Fitness Leader of the Year, Ingrid Knight-Cohee. Now, I did some research on you, and you have a side hustle going on at the moment that may, in fact, eventually not be a side hustle. You've developed a new group fitness program. Do you want to quickly tell us about that?
Sure. I've been in the realm of fitness class programming for a while and developed a couple of ideas along the way. But I would say starting kind of 2020, we remember that wonderful year where I had a little extra time to put some ideas down on paper, I discovered that I feel I have something pretty special to offer the world. It is I call it the world's first Afrocentric functional movement and primal mobility practice. So it is a class format that I called MSINGI, which is a Swahili word that means foundational and elemental. And it has a secondary meaning, which is to bring together. So in that context, I thought it was a beautiful place to just start reinventing the idea of a tempo-driven functional strength training movement practice that's really simple. I've ironed it down to 11 movements, 3 different intensity levels and the elements of earth, wind, and fire. A couple of, animal and landscape inspirations because I did have the opportunity to live in Nairobi, Kenya as a child between ages 10 and 13. So that kind of was a strong, profound experience that I always wanted to infuse with fitness in some way. So that's how MSINGI was born. And now I have 30 instructors teaching at about 12 locations. So it's really catching on and people are really enjoying it. So it's exciting.
Congratulations, Ingrid. That's pretty cool. I'm guessing, again, just on this side hustle thing, when I do MSINGI, I'm doing it in bare feet.
Yes, it can be done with shoes, but ideally, barefoot and outdoors even is a great experience. But right now we use 2 yoga mats in a plus sign because it is multi-directional, but there are lower body, upper body movements, core movements done on the floor. Yeah, it's I like to say that it's structured, but there's freedom within that structure. So it's not pre-formatted, but there is a definite kind of method and language that we use. But instructors have the creative freedom to kind of take these movements and kind of couple them or pair them or sequence them in a way that they want. And most importantly, though, it is to a genre of music called Afrobeats, which is, kind of a collection of African-influenced modern music, which is typically paced at about 112 to 116 beats per minute. So it's kind of a bit of a slower driving pace, but it's a very great pace to do movements like squats, lunges, push-ups in a controlled but steady manner.
We will put in the show notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com all the links to MSINGI as well if you would like to talk to Ingrid about this program to run in your clubs. Sounds pretty cool. I guess MSINGI is the result of the evolution of group fitness and where we've come from. And certainly, I think you said 33 years. Look, you must have only started when you're about 10. When you're in Nairobi teaching group fitness classes to fellow Nairobians. Let me ask you this. What would you say, or how would you sum up the evolution of group fitness post-COVID?
Oh boy, what a time. And it continues to be an interesting thing that is evolving. We were so impacted in I would say both good and not so good ways, because we saw the power of a group. We ultimately really learned that people need people. And that huge pivot that we saw, when we had to shut down some clubs, that pivot to the online landscape, because people just really needed to stay connected and stay with their classes and stay with their instructors. So we saw that the power of that. On the negative side, though, knowing that the typical role of a group fitness instructor is part-time. It's typically a part-time passion, not a full-time job. The economic impact of everything that we went through, we saw a lot of instructors just have to decide, I can't continue to pay for my certifications or my licensing fees if I'm not getting enough classes. So we've seen, a definite shift in available instructors. Everyone is struggling with that. And we're not seeing kind of the next generation kind of come in and take over those classes. So that's been a real challenge on all fronts. But to counter that, we've seen the rise of the boutique studio, the heavily curated and branded, polished class format. So that's been an interesting business model that has been proven to be quite successful as well. So, we continue to just see how things grow and evolve, but need of instructors is pretty much, whether you're in the boutique space or multi-club operational space, need for quality instructors is pretty standard.
I'm not sure if you just heard that, but there was a global sigh of relief that just went on when you said everyone is struggling to find instructors. Phew, thank goodness I'm not the only one in that boat. One of the interesting things I think that I'd like to talk to you about, almost question without notice, so I apologize if you need to think about this, is a couple of shows ago we spoke to Paul Byrne and he talked about the huge growth in strength training and where women are now coming to the gym, they feel comfortable doing strength training, they are strength training, and I almost feel like the TikTok age group are being promoted heavily into strength training. I almost think that group fitness needs a global PR campaign to relaunch and have TikTokers out there saying, get back into group fitness classes. What do you think of that crazy-ass idea I've just floated?
Well, I think it's an interesting time to reinvent how we communicate what group fitness is. It's evolved to become so many different things, but without a doubt, strength is a driving motivator for a lot of folks. We survey our members and typically 30 to 33% say strength is their number one goal. So, we offer classes that are just that, just dumbbells or long bars or resistive bands. Very popular for sure. But yeah, I would say in the social media space, you see a lot of those weight room, workouts that people seem really drawn to. But I think, again, that's a very solo endeavor. And, if you're lacking that day-to-day motivation, which let's face it, most of us are. But when you've got a class, when you're accountable to an instructor, and when you've got a group or a tribe or a posse that you look forward to seeing every week, then your motivation, it comes easier. So I think moving people towards classes just for that reason, for that social element, is a way to keep them really excited and engaged.
So let's talk about that, because we know that the US Surgeon General reported that loneliness and isolation is the overall mortality impact of loneliness and isolation are on a par with smoking daily, and they're even greater than the mortality impact we see with obesity. And I've quoted him there verbatim. What part does group fitness play in solving that as a health crisis for people?
Well, I mean, that's, shocking statements. And that was coming out a couple of years ago. We just got into this interesting stage of, you don't have to go far to do the essentials in life. You can work from home, you go to school from home. And I think, it's led to, this isolationist norm. And we even see that in the gym, people coming in with their earbuds and doing their own workout in their own space. And you don't have to engage with anyone if you don't want to, but that certainly comes with a cost. So the group environment, I think we're seeing that resurgence, perhaps not yet in classes, but we're seeing that in walking clubs, running clubs, the class atmosphere in our gyms. I mean, we see the social behavior before class and after class. People really enjoy that part of the gym experience. So I think kind of leaning into that more and explaining, your workout is great, but meeting these fantastic people and socializing, that's what's going to be the driving force. And that's going to be the glue that keeps you connected to this third space.
So Ingrid, take me through the logistics or the practicalities of Ingrid showing up for a group fitness class. I'll fire some questions at you. What time do you get there before a class?
At least 15 minutes ahead.
And what are you doing in that 15 minutes before the class?
I am setting up my music. People are usually already in the studio because we keep our studios open. People are stretching, or often younger people in particular often come in pairs. So, they might be propping up their phone and doing their own thing, watching some YouTube video, and I will try to engage. I'll just say, hey, just so you know, there's a class starting in 10 minutes, but what are you watching? What workout are you doing? Oh, this class that I'm going to teach, I'm going to have some core work in there. You might enjoy that. Oh, you didn't sign up? Oh, here's how you sign up. So I try to take those first few minutes as an opportunity to engage with people who haven't yet tried one of my classes and personally invite them, make that personal reach. And that kind of, breaks down the barrier of like, oh boy, I don't do classes. I don't know what this is about. I can't do it, or I don't want to do it. And I try to persuade them.
And then you teach the class. So during the class, are there cues? Are there strategies that you use to try to have the participants engage with each other?
Absolutely. And I would, again, use my example of creating MSINGI largely for this purpose, because classes have become, I think, quite hierarchical in terms of, the instructors on the stage or the instructors in front, and then there's rows and rows of participants. In that structure, I always tell my instructors, teach to the back row, right? They're usually the most shy, the least confident. But in a MSINGI class, I've changed the structure, and I've actually created a circular structure. And in this way, we're all equal. We're all sharing our energy. The instructor, I'm either placed in the middle or as part of the circle, because we can all see each other, and it's a completely different dynamic. So I think people find that quite different and enjoyable. It's a bit of a challenge from an instructor's point of view, because, if you're in the middle and you're like, you can't really say left, right, but it works. And I think that structure lends itself to just a different energy and different dynamic. But at the end of the day, it's options, options, options. You want everyone in your class to feel successful, whether they're a newcomer, whether they're a senior, whether they're an athlete. You're trying to make this a fantastic experience for everyone, for all levels. I think we're a long way from having said, this is a beginner class or this is an advanced class, because nobody likes to be called a beginner. That's for one thing. And people are going to come when they can. So to define these different levels for people is just really limiting. So I like to say, here's the move. This is how we aim to execute it. But here's some options. You can dial it up or you can dial it down, but most importantly, you can do it. So I think that's a fundamental way to, again, ensure that everyone's successful, because if they feel successful, they feel happy and they want to come back. And that's the goal, is to have them come back.
And then Ingrid, the class is over. We're done. You've just done the cool down. Oh, by the way, I got to share my gripe. My gripe is people leaving class early. Like, you try to create an experience and they get to the warm down and they go, oh, well, I don't need that. I'll just do that in the shower, or I got to go to work or whatever. Kind of disrupts the experience, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's so important. I mean, from a safety perspective, for sure, but just like that closure and making sure that people are leaving feeling really good. I try to make that kind of the dessert of the class. I change the music, I lower the lights, and I try to get people to just take a moment, thank your body for doing what you just did. You're going to feel so much better if you just spend these extra 3 minutes with me to lengthen those muscles as you cool down. You're going to feel way better tomorrow. So starting to weave in, the why, the physiological reasons and benefits, why they want to stick around. And then I always finish with, either take your two hands, give yourself a round of applause, or take one hand, put it over your shoulder, give yourself a pat on the back, making sure that, again, people take that opportunity to acknowledge that they've just done a great thing for their mind, body, and spirit. But physiologically, that act of clapping actually releases endorphins. So again, there's this physiological, powerful thing that's happening that's going to help solidify this felt good and I want to do it again.
And then tell me about, what do you do? Like, your class is now over. And again, we're trying to create this experience inside a club that maybe boutiques do so well. And we're trying to compete with that. What's the exit look like for Ingrid? What do you do?
It kind of depends if there's another class right after, so then that's a bit more rushed. But I certainly try to role model in terms of, let's take those handy wipes and clean off everything. And as we're doing that, I'm trying to touch base, especially with newcomers. If I know it was their first class, I'm like, how did you feel? You did a great job. See you next week. If the class wasn't full enough, I'll say, hey, everyone, same time next week, be sure to bring a friend. So those kinds of, again, nuggets of a little bit of marketing, but also making sure that people feel that they're being, tended to and cared for.
Look, I'm so grateful for you sharing your insights into the logistics of those touching bases with new clients, as well as your old members who have been participating in group fitness. Now I want you to put your hat on as the group fitness manager. Talk to me about hiring instructors, because as you said earlier in the interview, we can't find them anywhere. How do we find them? Where do we get them? How do we train them? How do we inspire them? Let's go question by question first. Where do we find them?
I think we find them in our clubs. I think they're already people who enjoy where we're at. Those are your first people. I've found some of my best instructors were participants, and they were keeners in the front row. And I've said, you know what? You've been taking this class for a while. I think you'd be a fantastic instructor. And quite often it's the farthest thing from their mind. It's something that they'd never even thought of. And I plant the seed, and then I kind of nudge them and remind them and say, hey, our next certification course is coming up. What do you think? It comes with a free membership. So, sell it that way. And that can often lead to fantastic instructors because as being a participant, they know exactly what makes a great instructor. But then beyond the studio participants themselves, our personal trainers, even our front desk member sales reps, they're already part of the community, and they're already looking for different ways perhaps to evolve their career, build different skill sets, engage with the community. I think those are best resources, and those are the ones that I find are most successful.
It's interesting. Way back dim dark ages, I taught body pump. Many years ago, I taught completely out of time as well. However, our instructor in those days that taught us how to teach classes was Steve Renata. And I remember Steve saying that when Les Mills launched body pump, they walked out onto the gym floor and they got some of the biggest, strongest Maori men into a group fitness room and said, all right, let's see how you go with this class. And they completely flopped. They were not strong at all. It was obviously it's a completely different fitness. But what they were able to do was they were then able to find instructors from actually the gym floor. They came in as these big, strong guys teaching body pump. It was a really clever move. So I do agree with you. I think that our members, there is possibilities there for us, but we've got to make that effort and reach out to them. And I think it goes back to something you used earlier about that personal invite. How do we keep our instructors inspired to show up every week? Because they are, again, as you said, more often than not, they're casuals or they're part-timers. It's their side hustle. So how do you keep them inspired to deliver a quality product?
I think instructors are typically very inspired by just education. I give them a lot of workshops, a lot of opportunities. We have what we call the Inspire Summit twice a year. So that's just a free full day workshops. I ask some of my top instructors to develop their own workshops to deliver to the rest of the team. Because if they've got packed classes, they're clearly doing something right. They're usually high performers that kind of want to get to that next level. So that ends up being a win-win. And when our instructors are inspired, that translates to our members being inspired. So I think that works really well. And for newer instructors, I would say they need mentorship. So I create partnerships with a veteran instructor and a newbie and create kind of a 4 to 6 weeks, typically, just kind of a partnered approach to teaching a class. And they share the class, and the newer instructor gets direct feedback from the more mature instructor. And that's another really effective way to kind of onboard, again, this next generation, because I think they've grown up with social media. They've grown up with, seeing something already perfected and polished and edited. So there's, I think, a huge intimidation factor of when they're in front of a group of people and they have to press play and they've got to deliver this sequence with cueing and all that. It's daunting. So they need a little bit of that hand-holding and support. Definitely makes them feel more confident, and that's going to lead to their longevity as an instructor.
Yeah, I so agree with all of those things. And it's an interesting point that you make that when they're videoing themselves in the gym, they do use those filters and they use this or that on their phones to make sure that absolute perfection. But when you're on stage, you can make mistakes, which is okay, but you don't have that perfection filter, do you?
No, you've got to be in real life and learn that it's okay. I mean, by and large, the class going community is very forgiving and they support new instructors, and, developing that mentorship culture makes it, again, less intimidating for any new instructor.
Now, I just want to jump in the weeds because I know someone's going to send us a question. Do you pay your instructors to attend your Inspire Summit?
Not that particular event, no, but we do have other, staff meetings where we, have opportunities to connect and communicate and share updates, and those are paid meetings. But that would be another aspect of how to keep instructors, and that's certainly, rate of pay, paying fairly, paying competitively, giving them other perks. Like, again, not all facilities include club membership. We've always made a point of that because we support the health and well-being of our own staff. Recertification through their CPR or their CECs, all of those things help to kind of round out the value of being a staff member.
Well, that's a good segue into my next question for you. There seems to be a lot of expenses that relate to group fitness, and they mount up. So I guess my question is, for many owners listening today, they probably see group fitness more as an expense on their P&L lines. How do we change an owner's thinking to see group fitness more of an income producing line instead of that expense line?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Again, especially for the traditional fitness club structure where classes are just, part and parcel of a membership, because you don't really see the benefits of that revenue. But we certainly try to measure it and account for it and celebrate it, because if you look at the volume of people coming into a club on any given day and the number of people attending classes, you can do the math and you can see, like, this is the impact that we're having. Like 30% of people that showed up today were here just for, or specifically for a class. So that's a great percentage. I think industry standard is still around 17%. Our clubs tend to be around 20 to 25, give or take. So that's a pretty good, if you think about out of every 4 or 5 people coming into the club, at least one is attending a class. So that's a strong segment of the membership. And then you do the research on those members themselves. Well, they tend to be long-standing members, right? Because they have the class habit. So they tend to keep their membership for about 30% longer, and they tend to refer more friends. So from a business and financial perspective, class-going members are actually way more valuable than non-class going members. And that tends to be because they've created this culture and this community, and they're there for the long haul because they're building friendships and relationships. And if you're just there for the treadmill, well, you can find a treadmill anywhere, but you can't find that class, that group, that instructor, that culture that you're a part of. You're not going to want to quit that if you really enjoy it and if you're finding benefit from it.
Oh, Ingrid, I would hate you as my fitness manager because you've just convinced me to keep group fitness.
There you go. I'm glad I did.
It was halfway out the door and now you've actually spoken the language that I want, which is members, retention, engagement, and differentiation. I love it. That's a great answer. All right. So as we go now into a brand new year, when this episode drops, we're into 2025. We like to give all of our FBP community a challenge, a 90-day challenge. And as we're kind of into this new year, how do we, I don't want to say relaunch, but how do we reinvigorate group fitness into a new year and programming? In the Northern Hemisphere, it's winter. In the Southern Hemisphere, it's summer. So people aren't necessarily wanting to come to gyms because of the weather. There's so many variables. So now let's really see if you can earn your money as my group fitness manager. The question is 90 days. What can I do in 90 days to reinvigorate group fitness?
Well, I mean, people love things that are shiny and new. So I'm always aiming to launch at least one new class format every quarter.
Oh, hang on. Explain that. Talk to me about a group, like a new format, because that must mean you're out there looking for stuff all the time.
Oh, for sure. I'm always asking. In fact, I don't have it handy, but at this time of year, I always survey my own instructors and say, okay, what are you excited about? I have a poll. Is it strength? Is it spin? Is it cardio? Is it stretch? And they tell me what they're into and they tell me what their members are asking for. And that's my first pathway. What are people talking about? What are they interested in? When I say I launch something new, I don't reinvent the wheel. I might make a hybrid of 2 popular class formats. I might give it a fun name. For example, people were really into strength training, as we know, but also battle ropes. So we created a format called Ropes and Reps. And it's just a circuit format. You do a little bit of battle ropes, you do a little bit of dumbbell lifting, and it's a group of 4 or 5 people that kind of hover around using one battle rope. And it's a cool circuit, and that has proven to be successful and popular, but it's not rocket science. It's not, a whole complex thing to certify and learn. So that can be considered a new launch. And then there's other things like MSINGI, which would require more of an initiative in terms of a certification course and completing the training. But you always want to be keeping things fresh and new and exciting and differentiating yourself from the competition. The fact that we have MSINGI or Ropes and Reps or other innovative Pilates fusion type classes, this is something that our salespeople love because they can talk to potential members and say, hey, look at our class schedule. We've got this, this, this. The club down the block doesn't have that. So that is definitely something to consider launching into a new year with new ideas.
So here are my top 3 ideas that I just got from you. Number 1 is in the next 90 days, I need to ask my instructors what's hot and what are they hearing from their members. Number 2 is I need to plan now for the year to launch new format classes, which could be a hybrid of 2 different types of class formats, but I need to be thinking about reinventing or relaunching those class formats every quarter. And then number 3, which I really like, is I heard you say that I need to make sure that my sales team and my front desk team are as excited about my group fitness timetable as I am if I'm the fitness manager.
Absolutely. One of the things that I am constantly telling our general managers is tell me when your next team meeting is with your personal trainers and your sales staff, because I want to show up and I want to personally tell them this is what we're launching. This is the class description. These are the benefits. Because if they have that language and familiarity, they can actually talk about it and be excited, genuinely excited. Better yet, I like to go into those meetings and actually teach them a sample and actually get them trying the class and feeling it, experiencing it, because then they can, again, speak to it with some level or a greater level of authenticity.
Oh my God, Ingrid, you're actually talking some sense here. Are you saying that we should all operate as a team?
Could you imagine? And practice what we preach.
Look, it's been a great interview today. I've enjoyed it so much, but I almost think the last 3 or 4 minutes has been the most powerful for me, where you really underline the importance that a personal training, a front desk, a sales team, and a group fitness team cannot operate in silos. For the success of group fitness or of sales or of PT, we all must operate together. That, to me, you can drop the mic and exit stage right. Thank you so much for joining us today. I can absolutely see why you won the 2024 IDEA Fitness Leader of the Year. You are full of knowledge. Now, we will put all of your contact details in the show notes that you'll find at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, including a link to MSINGI. If you're interested in that, make sure you contact Ingrid, because I'm sure she'll be happy to explain all the intricacies of you being able to launch that in your own club. Ingrid, thank you so much. Have a wonderful 2025. We might have to get you back at the beginning of 26 and we can compare the trends back then, because we'll have that new PR person globally driving group fitness.
Very interesting to see. That's why I've been in it for 33 years. There's never a dull moment, and group fitness is always evolving.
I love it so much. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you, JT. Take care.
All right, FBP community, get after it and start working on that group fitness program.
Welcome to our 3-minute sponsors pitch on the Fitness Business Podcast. We spotlight a Rex Roundtable trusted supplier who provides innovative solutions to help you enhance your facility, boost member engagement, and increase profitability. Stay tuned to discover their suggested actions to elevate your fitness business to the next level.
Hello, my name's Ken Reinig, also known as the Insurance Guy. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. I'm excited to introduce an innovative tool designed to empower you and your staff and elevate how we approach safety and risk management in the club. Riskmaster is our new interactive educational gaming platform tailored specifically for health clubs. Why are we introducing this platform? Because safety isn't just about following rules. It's about creating a proactive culture where every team member feels confident identifying and managing risks. By engaging with Riskmaster, you'll gain practical knowledge on how to minimize risks and contribute to a safer environment for our members and our staff. Here's how it works. Riskmaster offers interactive scenarios, challenges, and rewards that make learning about risk management engaging and effective. From identifying potential hazards to understanding emergency procedures, you'll develop the skills needed to help prevent accidents before they even happen. The platform also covers essential protocols for completing incident reports, handling minors and children in the health club, and comprehensive sexual harassment training to ensure a respectful and safe workplace for everyone. Investing in this platform is more than just a training initiative. It's a strategic move to help us manage our insurance costs by reducing claims and incidents. When we actively work together to maintain a safe environment, we protect our members, our business, and ourselves. Your participation is key. I encourage each of you to dive in, explore the modules, and apply what you learn in your day-to-day roles. The more we engage, the stronger our safety culture becomes. Thank you for your commitment to making your club a safer place for everyone. Let's take this proactive step together with Riskmaster.
Trusted suppliers this episode from Rex Roundtables are Raw Partners, offering data-driven marketing strategies to enhance customer relationships. Matrix, commercial fitness equipment, technology, and programming. Performance Foods, providing turnkey smoothie bar solutions for your gym. Digital Revenue Systems, offering digital revenue opportunities for you. You can find all their details in this week's episode notes at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. What a cracking ep this week. And our next ep focuses on personal training. I'm going to be chatting with Bob Esquire and Richard Boyd about turning personal training into a profit-making machine. You don't want to miss this show. So subscribe to the show on your preferred podcast platform or go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and subscribe to the show notes. That way you'll get an email every time a new ep drops to remind you to listen in. Do you know someone in your network who could benefit from this week's episode? What about a colleague? Even someone that works for you? Why not share this episode with them on social media, email, or push a link to them where you're just going to pay it forward to help them get better at their roles? I'd be super grateful for your share. What we leave behind is not set in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others. I'll catch you in 2 weeks.